President Trump is reportedly planning to install a statue of Christopher Columbus on White House grounds. How about that? No anti-Italian discrimination here, Niall.
I was going to say, if people are not aware, you're proud Italian-American.
Proud Italian heritage here.
People familiar with the matter informed the Washington Post that the piece is a reconstruction of a statue unveiled in Baltimore by then-President Ronald Reagan. In 2020, protesters discarded the statue in the city's harbour after nationwide racial justice demonstrations.
But a group of Italian-American businessmen and politicians worked together to obtain the destroyed pieces and rebuilt the statue. John Pica, a Maryland lobbyist and president of the Italian-American organization, told the Associated Press that he was contacted about the statue around Columbus Day last year by an intermediary who said the White House was looking for a statue. Pica says his organization unanimously decided to loan this statue to the White House.
Bill Martin, another Italian-American businessman, told the Post that the statue is expected to be transferred from a warehouse on Maryland's eastern shore to the Trump administration in coming weeks.
A White House spokesperson, Davis Ingalls, said in a statement, "In this White House, Christopher Columbus is a hero and he will be honored as such by President Trump." A little bit of quoting of Tony Soprano there, I think, from the famous meme. Christopher Columbus has elicited different feelings, obviously, depending on which side of the political aisle you're on, like President Trump supporting the traditional perspective of Christopher Columbus as a pioneer of the 1492 voyages to the Americas.
However, in recent years, some have viewed the Italian explorer with a much more critical lens for setting the stage for European conquest of the Americas and subsequent enslavement of indigenous populations. Some US states do now recognize Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day, and former President Joe Biden in 2020 became the first president to mark the holiday. Well, we can have a whole discussion about Indigenous Peoples Day. As an Italian-American, are you thrilled that Christopher...
Indigenous Peoples Day.
I'm all in favor of Indigenous Peoples Day.
I don't need, to be perfectly honest, I don't think anybody needs a day anymore. I think we've doled out the days a little too judiciously.
Well, but how will you go back to your Italian-American forebears and justify the scrubbing of Columbus Day as well as Indigenous
no
Peoples
Columbus
Day?
Day and no Indigenous Peoples Day and no any day, and we should just stop with the days.
Are you happy about this Columbus statue, though? You're thrilled. You're going to be waving your little Italian flag.
I honestly don't care that much. I think it's fun. The history of Columbus Day, of course, is it was a giveaway to, at the time, an important urban identity group, Italian Americans.
Yes.
It's interesting how identity politics shift in such a... I've talked about this a lot on Rising, the conception of white people as one homogenous group, that it's not really an identity group, that all other identity groups are positioned against. A group that includes your people and my people is very funny because 100 years ago, Irish people and Italian people and German people and the people who came over on the Mayflower would not have considered themselves, did not consider themselves all part of some broader white race. I think it's always important to keep in mind that this is a very recent invention, this idea of whiteness as this superseding organization. That's not how my ancestors saw it.
Well, it's not. Certainly there was a whole big, obviously there were absolute battles between those white ethnic groups, but as history has developed, we don't have time to get into all that, but there's a book written, How the Irish Became White, which is all about a rather inglorious history of basically discriminating against black people to prove your mainstream here among white American society.
It's interesting to see it with Latinos.
Yeah.
Many Latinos identify as, they have that white Hispanic designation now that's, say, second, third generation. Many of them just think of themselves as white.
I know. It has become a very, very different thing. Up next, I will be discussing the Trump administration's response to the various ICE-involved tragedies and President Trump's snap-in at CNN reporter Caitlin Collins. Stick around for that.